This is Maria Imp. I am calling the Franklin Public Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock and I will take roll call. Alan Alexandrovich. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Androvich.
Here.
Okay, now you are here. Okay, Terry Barris. Here. Judy Williams-Kalaki.
Here.
Mike Karolevich.
Here.
Judy Miller.
Here.
Anne Marie Oklubgia, not yet. And Kristen Wilhelm is calling in.
Yes, here. I think we have a board with some of the most difficult names. So
And I didn't study them ahead of time tonight. I usually, go over them in my head before the meeting, so I don't struggle. All right, there are no visitors with us this evening. And therefore no public comment. We are going to take a look at the minutes first. Going to take a look at the minutes first of all from the December 27th regular meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, and that is on page 2 and 3 of our packets. Questions or comments on those? Questions or comments on those, or adjustments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mike Karolevich motioned to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
We'll give it to Judy Miller this time for a second. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained because I was not there last time.
Okay, Judy Williams-Kalaki is, all right, motion carries. Then our special meeting of the Library Board of Trustees took place on January 15th, and we'll look at those minutes next. Judy, I wanted to add that under the roll call, Jennifer's name should probably be listed.
Okay.
She's on our other minutes usually as that. I know Laura's name was there, so if you could add her name.
Yes. Okay.
Good job on those, by the way.
I try to make my short
But you included, everything. Everything. All right, any other comments or questions about the library board retreat minutes? Okay, then I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of Library Board of Trustees. Approve the minutes from the special meeting of Library Board of Trustees.
I'll second them.
Ravian seconded. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstained? Motion carries. All right, Alan, take it away.
All right. Invoices for approval. 115, nothing was out of the norm. Maybe the Biblioteca invoice for $7,037, which is an annual maintenance. So the total that I'd be looking for a motion to approve would be $12,054.48.
Judy
Second.
and Kristen seconded. Any questions on fund? Any opposition? Motion carries.
The invoices for Fund 16, again, there was nothing unusual. They're in line with what we normally see. The total that I'd be looking for an approval on would be $3,387.
Maria? Do I have a second?
Second.
Ravian? Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions or abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, the rest of the treasurer's report going into the funds. Fund 15, I found it unusual revenue for the month of December, anywhere, including interest or gains and losses on investments. gains and losses on investments.
Hmm.
The reciprocal borrowing was only at 7.89%, but that's because we get that money in February, and
Right.
we're expecting that to be in the neighborhood of $58,000. As far as the expenses, again, nothing was really out of line.
Mhm.
But while we were talking about the expenses, when I was talking to Jennifer earlier today, she did mention that she thinks we're still going to get another electric bill and another natural gas bill. So those were over budget on, and they're going to be further over budget.
Can I go back to something here?
Yes, sir.
You're gonna get a big chunk of money early this year. For last year's reciprocal borrowing.
They always put it back
Yep.
to last year.
But shouldn't that show up, the same thing show up then on this figure? Or something that was received early in the year?
Because when they received it in February of this year,
Yeah.
they posted it back in 2020. No, they posted it back in 2020. So we get it for 2022, they'll post it into 2021.
Something in front of us at one of our meetings that shows it.
Until we get the final close for the year, and when's that, about April?
April.
I have a question about our software maintenance being over budget. Is that a service we pay a contractor for regular, like an annual fee, or what was that
That was a one-time thing, and I think I corrected it in the.
concern that we're over that much and we need to adjust our budget? But, okay.
Should we know what the loss or gain, right?
On the interest, I would have expected that, yeah. But no, there's nothing is here.
And that's,
Is that because the finance officer left?
and he took the revenues with it? No.
Um,
Or he just
I
never got around to posting?
Well, I think it could be because the new guy maybe just hasn't.
Sure.
Yeah, and he's out for a while. So I'm not.
Can you ask
I can ask Peggy.
somebody about
Mm-hmm.
that?
I mean, I don't think less concerned about it, except it's the last report for last year, right?
Well, until they close everything.
Right.
Till they close everything out.
But
Yeah.
it's not like the mid one where we're gonna see like.
Well, until they close everything.
Right.
Till they close everything out,
But
yeah.
it's not like the mid one where we're gonna see like an adjustment somewhere for.
Right. But there are postings that I find that I don't understand.
Yeah.
When we get into the detailed report on the revenue for Fund 16, meeting room is.
Oh, I
we
saw
posted
that.
Exactly 200, and they had $210.45. What in the world do we charge for meeting rooms that would come to $10?
Right.
Okay.
Insurers were 99.45% of what we had budgeted, and revenues came in at 96.91%. So we look like we're pretty much on budget.
Yeah.
For the year, so that was good. 4,000 for Fund 15.
That'll adjust though with the reciprocal borrowing check and other.
Right. The reciprocal borrowing, the electric bill, the gas bill, and whatever else comes through. So Fund 16. Did have some revenues. Revenues for the year look like they're going to come in at 111.27%. I don't know if we have much adjustments in 2026 Fund 16. So 126 Fund 16. So we're over there.
Mm-hmm.
And for expenditures, they came in at 99.52%. So we did well in Fund 16. The three biggest hitters: office supplies, the Three biggest hitters, office supplies, printing, and subscriptions were the ones that were the most over budget, 165%, 163 and 141, and yet we came through overall with Fund 16 to 5. Overall, with Fund 16 to 5. I'm seeing an ending fund balance for both funds of $590,387 to close out the year. So
Can you repeat that? Was it 597?
$590,387.88.
$397?
I was gonna say, that's different than what's on here.
397.87. Yes.
Okay. It's, yeah.
Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Then the next report, which gives us the details of the postings that don't tie in well with what we show on our financial statement. But Jennifer and I had a conversation about that, and we see what they're doing when we are. So we're going to start recording it that way on our records, so that we're closer. And if you also look at that report, the last line before the total is sales tax, a negative amount. Jennifer's also trying to get the sales tax right, so we should be.
Yeah.
I don't know, but people do, stuff like that. Okay, so that I didn't see anything out of the ordinary here with that. The library materials is $995.64, which is close to 20% of the annual budget. And Jennifer just said, yes, we had one large purchase. You're signing up. When we were talked about trying to get ahead on doing some budgeting, and so I put this thing together. If you look at the very first page across the top on the right, you see a wage percent and inflation percent. There's no magic about these. You see a wage percent and inflation percent. There's no magic about these numbers. I'm assuming wages will go up in 2023 by 5% and inflation 2.5% across the board from 2023, 24, 25, and 26.
So those are numbers you are making up. Those are numbers that we just are guessing it's gonna be minimum of this.
It's going to be somewhere around.
Somewhere around there, absolutely.
I'll guarantee you those numbers are not correct 2 years out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yep.
But we have.
We have to put something in, right.
Then to come to the numbers for the budget, anything in the labor 2022 is amended budget and adding 5% to it for 2023, 3% for 2024, etc. All other items outside of the wages and benefits are going up by the 2.5%. Except there are two or three lines in which Jennifer and I talked about it. She said, "Oh, that's a contract. That should be the same."
It may remain the same, we have a 4-year contract or something, sure.
If you look at the revenue, the second line down says, first one is general property taxes, and then highlighted in yellow. It says, first one is general property taxes, and then highlighted in yellow, additional needed general property taxes. That we'll get to at the last page, because we look at our fund balance, which should be a minimum of 20% of appropriations. So a minimum of 20% of appropriations. So I took 20% of the appropriations in Fund 15 and 16, and that should be our minimum fund balance. I did not include donations in that as meeting that fund balance. So if we came up short, this is the amount that we would come up short in for 2022, based on our budget, will be $18,842 short of having the full fund balance, the full 20%. the full 20%. Now, if the city looks at that and says, no, you've got to include all your money from donations too, and we're not going to be short. But I think we're trying to fight that and say donations are a different animal. It shouldn't be included here.
This is an operational budget.
This is an operation.
Take the fund further down.
No, it does. If you go to page 16,
Okay,
and the second line, building improvements, see that's highlighted in yellow, it's $143,000. That's the amount of money that we came up with that we're gonna have to take out of fund balance.
That are on that list for 2022.
but that's only 2022. It's not taking into account if for some reason we have to pay for something in 2024, like a roof.
2023, right, 2023 and 2024 has 9,000 and 11,000, and those are the ones that,
The
Yeah,
city, okay, right?
And
Yeah.
we shouldn't need a roof. I mean, we shouldn't need a roof because we're doing roof repairs to help the roof last longer.
Okay. At least not by 2026.
Right.
Gotcha.
and so the purpose of me running through this exercise was to give us what kind of money we'd be looking for from the city. If we go back to page 13 with the revenue, you'll see that under general property taxes, I plugged in $1,340,500, all $4,500, all for use. And the idea of that then is the additional revenue is highlighted more as to what we would need over and above. We can't just stay at a stagnant number.
And we need that number in order to meet the fund balance issue below.
To reach the fund balance, 20%.
Issue below.
To reach the fund balance, 20%. Of the appropriations. And with the appropriations growing by 2.5% for the most part, or more, every item that we've got every year, that's the growth, that's the expense, additional revenue for us to stay at 20%.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Sure.
This is a public document, so I think it should have draft or working draft with a watermark on it. It's a document and have it be identified. Very fluid, if you will.
Right. That's an excellent suggestion. I know what you're, yeah.
Yeah, because this is now a public document. So we would want to keep- This is a plan that the library board has for work to kind of help us vision.
But you're right. What I did is I grabbed something that I had and built it
Yeah,
over.
you did good,
Yes. This will be fabulous when we,
good.
yes. This will be fabulous when we, have conversations with people at the city and when we're looking at, planning our own budgets and things like that.
We'll clean up some of the dates and other things on here.
But thank you, Judy, for reminding us of that, because yes, the way this looks, it looks like a report and not a,
It's Kristen.
Yo,
Alan, since that was a really good summary of the needs, is that finance committee
sure.
and let them know? I think that would be really important for them when they're trying to, work through the suggested budget and that.
Kristen, does that finance committee just meet during the budget cycle, or do they
No.
meet year round?
They meet every month. So you don't have to wait till the budget to express, the upcoming needs and percent increases that are required. Like, Alan laid that out really well. Just, thank you, Alan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a ton of work. Does anyone else have comments or questions on this? Something you'd be willing to, work on with Jennifer, getting on the agenda of the finance committee for an upcoming month and not waiting till, July? I mean, now might be better. Or, in the next few months. Okay.
I just had a question. Why does reciprocal borrowing go down?
B.
Oh,
So I think we're just doing kind of that.
guessing. Okay, I didn't know.
That's
Like,
what I do every
So
every
this
year.
year, I think it was,
It was more.
I don't want to say a surprise, but there was some extra money or
Yeah, it was
that
more
a
than what I had budgeted.
right.
You know,
but you expected
So
it
that's
to
why-
go up, really.
I was thinking that I wasn't sure how the pandemic was going. Thinking that I wasn't sure how the pandemic was going to influence our,
Right.
you know, numbers because Greendale was open more than we were. So I thought, well, maybe more people were going up there.
Sure.
Got it. Okay.
Was there something where reciprocal borrowing eventually was going to go away?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, that's
something
a
like that too.
that's why it's
It's-
going down.
It's go the okay. So the
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, that's
something
a
like that too.
that's why it's
It's-
going down.
it's go the okay. So the percentage. So reciprocal borrowing is a percentage of the MICFLIS budget, and because MICFLIS got more money from the state, that pot of money grew. But it's over the grew. But it's over the contract. I think this contract it was going from like 35% of that pot to 30%. So while the percentage shrunk, the pot grew.
Sure.
So, I mean, I guess my point was
30%. Sure.
so. I mean, I guess my point
30%
was
of
Like
the-
Social Security, we're like, when is it gonna run out of money? Is that really what we're talking about?
so.
So it's a pot of money.
It's
As
a pot of
opposed
money
to-
that's a
as opposed
percentage.
to a drop dead date that reciprocal borrowing will end.
There's no drop dead date.
Oh, okay. And,
There's no drop dead date.
oh, okay.
And it's part of that member contract that we sign.
Right.
So, you know, all libraries would have to agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be an interesting meeting.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any other system that does reciprocal borrowing. There are systems that do something like this, but it has to do with the communities in their system that don't have libraries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, Muskego does get Town of Norway, you know, some of the, maybe not Town of Norway, some of the
Those
the ones that don't have a library.
communities that don't have physical libraries,
Mhm.
right? Their people can come and use Mosquito and
Mhm.
yeah. All right, any other questions for Alan? Alan, any other comments?
This was just something to, as a tool that we
Yes.
could work on when the finance committee is gonna meet to talk about budgeting. I
Mhm.
thought this could be a good place to start,
Absolutely.
and we'll see where we.
And to prepare that for us. That was very helpful and very, you know, we just talked about it at the retreat, so very timely. So we appreciate that. Hey, is that the end of your report then, Alan?
End of my report.
Fabulous. All right, we are moving on to business. I have good news and bad news. Good news is we are not doing a policy review tonight because we worked so hard at our retreat. We decided to give us a break on that, and hopefully this meeting will be done, you know, sooner rather than later. The bad news is that the next two things we wanted to review are sooner rather than later. The bad news is that the next two things we wanted to review are huge. We need to review the Board of Trustees bylaws is coming up, and then the material selection, I want to get the terminology, material selection policy, and along with that one is the challenge, is that what they call it?
The challenge form.
The challenge form. So, especially with the bylaws, and I think the materials, did we decide is next month maybe? Or the bylaws? Whenever we do the bylaws, we will send them out, not just the Thursday before the board meeting. She will send them out to us, you know, after probably the meeting, so we have time to review the bylaws, just, you know. So whatever we decide, whatever order she decides to do them in. So that will be upcoming a few, so, but tonight, we have nothing. So we're gonna go on to considering a budget amendment.
One second.
Yep,
No, just to review them, they might be fine, just to have an eye on them.
But it's obviously a huge document. That's the question. All right, so the first item under business is a budget amendment to amend the 2022 budget. And the motion is written out for us. That reciprocal borrowing amount we know is changing significantly from $45,000 to $58,444. So is there anything you want to say about that other than?
All I will say is next year I'm going to do it differently because when I get the reciprocal. All I will say is next year I'm going to do it differently because when I get the reciprocal borrowing number in October, it's after we've done everything with the budget input in BS&A, our software. But what I'm going to do next year, instead of waiting until January to do the budget amendment, we'll just do a budget adjustment. Instead of waiting until January to do the budget amendment, we'll just do a budget adjustment.
Prior to, okay.
Yeah, it's much easier.
Okay.
And doesn't require a supermajority.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, yeah.
Alrighty. So, are there questions about that or?
Yeah, why are we making any change? But we already know that we don't have all the electric bills, all the gas bills, there's all kinds of things that come floating through.
This is for next year. This is for this year, but it's the check that'll come in February of 2023.
Oh, so this is for the.
We were just talking about as the one for 2021.
Does the city though require us to make the amendment?
I think.
Yeah. Because you want the budget to be.
Right.
I know, but I think I would really expect to do that at the end of because we have more adjustments throughout the year, right?
Right. I mean, we're trying to nail this one down to the dollar, where every single other line item, other than maybe 3, are not. I mean, I don't understand. Is the motion or the roll call vote where we go through all of this? I don't know what's driving it. Why is this number so significant? I don't know what's driving it. Why is this number so significantly different from every other number on the budget?
Is it because it's the larger?
You missed some of our expenses by 165%. You're high.
I thought we had to do amendments. If we were going to be overspending in a category, and we had to figure out where the money was coming from. But this is the opposite.
Or
We're
if
gonna
we're
have more
moving
money.
things between accounts.
Right.
Yeah, right. But this is gonna be. We're gonna have more money than we anticipated. I mean, we don't amend Fund 16 to indicate we got more donation. Like, I'm assuming if we got a large donation, we would not amend Fund 16 to show the large donation.
Yeah, so, and I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, I just don't understand it. This is so out of the norm of everything else that we're doing.
Well, we can not do it, and then what would happen would 13,000 would show up, kind of like that 3,000 did this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they get the check in February, they would apply the amount that I budgeted, which was like 40. Was it 45?
Mm-hmm.
45,000, and then the additional 13,000 and change would then get the next year's budget. Am I making sense?
Why would you put it in next year's budget? Would it just be excess revenue that we had for this year?
No. So.
See, it's money we're collecting in 2022, but it belongs to 2021, and so.
So the extra 13,000 doesn't belong in 2021 because we didn't budget.
Because we didn't budget it in 2000 on
Right.
this year's budget, which means that our numbers this year, we had 3,000 extra in revenue than we would have had. But I was just attempting to make that number.
So it's more procedural thing.
Mm-hmm.
That we're gonna go through a roll call and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That we're gonna go through a roll call and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Because we would roll call to budget.
Right.
Originally, okay.
And that's why next year I'm going to do it earlier in October once I find that number out.
Right. We could adjust the budget at that point instead of.
Instead of doing this.
We could adjust the budget at that point instead of
Doing this.
amending it.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
So just to drag this out just a little longer because we all have time to kill.
Right, because we're not doing a policy review.
The electric and the gas bill that haven't been posted yet, we're still gonna get hit. The electric and the gas bill that haven't been posted yet, we're still gonna get hit with those in
Oh, yeah.
2021.
Mhm.
We don't have to do any kind of special roll call vote for those.
Oh,
Just to pick us with.
yeah.
But if we didn't have the money right, they'd move the money into 2022, but they're not gonna move the electric and gas bill into 2022, but they're not gonna move the electric and gas bill into 2022.
Right, yeah.
Okay, now I don't understand it, but that's okay.
Yeah. Write it down. We can ask that question of Brian when we
There
meet
you
with
go.
him.
There's no good reason for it, it's just a city policy. Okay.
Yeah, actually. The thing though is, if we have a meeting with somebody, yeah, any questions you've got.
Yeah.
For the finance guy, great, what do we do?
Right,
Right.
right.
And
Well, and it seems like it's inconsistent accounting methods. You are an expense, aren't you?
True, but I think this isn't a true accrual budget. I think it's more of a cash, but it's
Yeah,
a
but that
cash
was the case.
accrual.
That was the case in the gas and electric should be in this year, not last year.
well, maybe they will. We'll find out in April.
Oh, yeah.
We have a new guy.
Oh,
They'll do it the same.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
I made the motion.
All righty.
I'll second.
Oh, goodness.
All righty, so here we go. Roll.
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Radian,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Judy Miller, Kristen.
Aye.
All righty, motion carries. And then we are moving right along to approving the 2022 pages 16 to 19, or yeah, 16 to 19. Are there any major things you want to point out, Jennifer? I know most of these.
I hope that I caught all of the wishes of the library board when I went through. I made notes on my thing, and I hope I captured it. But if you see anything that's in my thing, and I hope I captured it. But if you see anything that's not,
Did you get feedback from the librarians before finalizing this? And did you adjust any of the quarterly things? I know we talked about that and we kind of
No.
decided it
Yeah.
would work itself out.
Yeah.
Decided it
Yeah.
would work itself out.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on that action plan? We were all there and helped create it, or I mean, Jennifer created it, but there were a few things, looked at. And any questions about that? Then, anybody want to move to approve it? I guess it says approval. Okay, Terry
Second.
and Radian seconded. Any? Correct. Once we approve it, I guess. So all in favor of accepting?
I'd like to,
Oh, good.
but I don't know what it is, but under goal 2, community, when we went through it, I reached 9 items listed, and I don't see where we,
item you had me take out.
you're right, promote the creative space.
No, it was
Anyway, there's 8 now,
yeah,
Did one move?
8 now.
yeah.
Did one move?
No, there was one you had me take out. Thought that was under here. One I took out.
And that was goal 1, the continue to reintroduce in-person.
Oh,
programming.
okay.
It says that's an operational life, so that one we took out, but under,
Number
Strategic
two.
goals they're talking about now?
Yes.
wait, wrong.
Did some of them get combined or condensed?
I can run and get my.
I don't have. I might. Okay. No, I think it was attached. Here, I have it here.
Oh, I just saw it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Survey other mixed list libraries we added.
I only have 5, okay.
You're right, I started adding 3. Starting 3.
So it's accurate?
If you consider that we added survey other mixed list libraries,
Okay.
so then that's accurate, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions about that? I know she went to get a copy of it, but I have my copy here and we figured it out, so I don't know if she has to be here to approve it.
No, I think we can do a motion.
Right, that's what I was saying, so. I guess I will make the motion to approve the.
I already have it, I have TB.
Oh. Oh, yeah, TV and Arby, yeah, sorry. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Okay, anybody opposed? Perfect, she'll come back and we'll have done it already. All right, better.
The person who asked the question had his back.
Yeah,
Okay, because I'm like looking at it going, no, there's still
Yeah.
6.
We're good.
All right, Kristen, what's going on with the city related to the
I don't have
library?
anything,
What?
not related to the library, I don't have anything that they've told me about anyway.
Okay. Any secrets you want to
No.
Gossip?
Any?
We have a special council
I think
meeting
that's what she's asking.
tomorrow,
Okay.
but that's unrelated, and it was actually not what I thought it was gonna be either, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then Judy, I know out a handout to us. I'm sure she could email it to you after the fact, but she's going to be talking about something here. Go ahead.
Okay, and just for the record, I only added that in about anything else because you asked me. It's
Right.
totally unrelated to liberry board, so you don't need to,
I know. I was just,
I just, okay.
I know.
Shoes needle for you.
I realize we record this whole thing.
I do, yes. That's another reason why.
I just want to take a minute to share with you a little bit about digital books and how the students in our school district are utilizing this resource. So during the 2021 calendar year, Sora, the software, if you will, that helps facilitate this for students in Wisconsin, had over 1 million checkouts.
Wow.
And they had 200 participating. So Franklin remained at the top with checkouts of 42,000, over 42,000. So I just thought I'd show you this handout of how it works, like Sora. So students can get books and audiobooks. They can see and borrow books from school and from public libraries. On a tablet or Kindle, they can get access to more books, including copy books. And then there are some tools they can use on the right side. They find their school, their zip code, and just follow the intuitive directions. It's very easy for kids to search for books and find books. So I just thought it would be interesting for the board to see, how our kids are engaged. Library or reading digital books,
Exactly.
even audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see how engaged kids are in reading. So I just thought I'd share that.
You can have a lot larger selection here as well for the kids than you could possibly have with hard copies. So really ready if somebody else has a copy.
Right.
And we still have a lot of books in our more in the digital environment now for kids, so libraries become comfortable spaces to relax and read more than store books.
Right.
We still have a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I, again, waste some time? There's a book called America the Beautiful by Ben Carson, who was the neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
When he was I was reading it, and when he was in school, he was considered to be like the class dummy.
Mm-hmm.
His parents were separated, like the class class dummy.
Mm.
His parents were separated, they moved from one city to another, and he was always in a different school. And so she had her children, she only had a third grade education. Every week they had to read a book and write a book report on it. Because I realized I would write a book report and she probably couldn't read it.
Mm.
But because they were doing all that reading, by the time he was in high school, he was the kid that everybody was coming to and asking him questions and getting help, and he was working with the teachers and getting help, and he was working with the teachers and became a neurosurgeon. From class dummy to a neurosurgeon, and his mother just made him read books. So important.
That's awesome. Do your teachers instruct the students then, or your librarians? Teachers instruct the students then, or your librarians on how to use this, or yeah, it's not just something that you give the parents and say, here, this is good for your kids, but the kids are taught how to use it too.
Yep, they are.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Yeah. All right. Next on the agenda is my report. I had already mentioned that we are going to be looking at those two bigger documents. Not that there will be huge changes, but the bylaws and the material collection policy the next couple months, and we should be getting works. I'm sure they're public policies, so it's not a big issue to get them out to us prior to the meeting.
Oh, no, 'cause
several
they're on
weeks
our
before.
website.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. I want us all to start thinking about this presentation that Jennifer is going to be doing, treat about having some of us help her with that, in addition to, hopefully some of us will be able to be present, but, so if we want to start thinking about, or if you would like to start thinking about, if you would be willing to work with Jennifer on that, or asking for commitments for that soon, so that it's not something we have to throw together at the last minute. And then I spoke at the retreat about having goals for the board, and I don't think any of us need more to do. And I want to just clarify that with you guys. When I said that at the retreat, I didn't want you to think I'm suggesting additional things for us to be doing. I just think additional things for us to be doing. I just think that looking through the bylaws and by agreeing to be members of this board, if we could, just make sure we have a vision as board members as to what our contributions to this board can be. I was not in any way suggesting making extra work for us. So I felt like I needed to say that to you all tonight.
But if it ends
But
up
I
being
do
extra
think-
work, and that's what is really the good thing to do, then you just do it.
Right, exactly. So,
We're not gonna do it just for an exercise.
So anyway.
And I understood it more as like having more of a cogent role, idea of what the role of a board member is.
Right, and that was,
Like the
yes.
expectation.
Okay, I'm glad that came across to you at least, so that, yes, because that's kind of what I meant, so. All right, now,
Well,
go ahead.
it would be someone who's interested in coming onto the board and to say, well, you get the material, you review it, you come to the meetings, you'll be on a committee, and in the course of the year, you might be asked to do something else besides.
Right.
Or, maybe that's do that, to do something else besides.
Right.
Or, maybe that's do that, like a realistic expectation of,
Right.
okay. Well, it's probably okay.
And that was kind of what I had in
Yeah,
mind, and I
yeah.
just want to make sure that, it's clear to all of us what those kinds of things are.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, and also, if somebody's on the board,
those kinds of things are.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, and also, if somebody's on the board and says, hey, I think you should say something too.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, yeah. Alrighty, the personnel committee has had a busy month, since Arlene is gonna update us all on that.
Sure. We met several times, the personnel committee, since December, just to review the job description. We asked Jennifer to update her job description, and it was align it more. And so we worked on it several meetings, and then we shared it with Jennifer today to get her feedback, to see if we missed something, if we took out too much, and we just reviewed other boards or not, or other libraries' job descriptions to see what they had used when she looked at that, and then another it down to 2 pages, and Jennifer is going to look at it again, and if she's okay with everything, we are going to distribute it to you guys next month. So we updated that. And so that was the biggest thing that we worked on. And then we finished up the review for Jennifer, and so we and the board. And so that's all my report.
So thank you for doing that. Thank you
No.
very much for doing that. And did you include that line that says, and all of their duties as assigned?
Yes.
I think we have it in there twice.
Yes.
Somebody's got a job description, you decided it was her.
Several times.
It's called delegation.
Right, right.
But seriously, thank you, that's a big task.
That's right.
Yeah. So yes, that was definitely in there a couple of times.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Thanks, Ravian. Oh, goodness. Thanks, Ravian. Okay, Jennifer, report of the director.
Okay. Well, I thought I would try something new and put in there like our employees and when they have an anniversary, so you can kind of see like our employees and when they have an anniversary, so you can kind of see how long they've worked here, because we do have a number of people who've worked here a long time. And I noticed January we don't have too many hires, so maybe because it's cold. We have a shelver on too many hires, so maybe because it's cold. We have a shelver on leave, but we're keeping up with it. And I am going to start the process for hiring a summer reading intern in mid-February. The sprinkler system, the compressor has been installed. The sprinkler system, the compressor has been installed. There was some minor electrical work that had to be done because I guess compressors changed in the last 20 years. But I don't think it's going to be a huge bill. I don't think you guys it's not going to be a huge bill, but it will. AV upgrade was scheduled for February 28th and March 1st, with the March 2nd being our testing and training day. So our last piece of equipment that was sitting on the ship finally arrived. And
The dishwasher I ordered in July. Still have it?
monthly basis, like because the equipment did come in, that was the only piece that was left.
Okay.
So that's done. The 2021 bills, well, Alan kind of talked about that already. I don't know how much of the AC and gas will be, the thing and gas will be in 2021, or if it will be in 2022. I'm not sure how they do it. I can ask, but in April we'll know what the final numbers are. One other thing, I met with Peggy Sino today, and we talked about the fund balance reserve. And we talked about the fund balance reserve. And the library has an agreement with the city that we won't drop below $100,000. So she considers that our amount that we need to hold on to.
Where's the 20% coming?
Well, that would be for other
City departments.
20% coming.
Well, that would be for other
City departments.
city departments, but
Where's this agreement for the 100,000?
there's
Must have been at some.
it was at a city council meeting. Kristen, were you
Yes,
there on council when that agreement was
yes.
were you there on council when that agreement was
No. I trying to think if that was during Tom Taylor's term as an alderman or if he was mayor at that point, but it was quite a while ago.
Yeah. I can find it because I know
It's quite a while ago.
Yeah. I can find it because I know I have it in my
Yeah,
files, so I can find
I
it.
don't think so, but I've been around for a while. I mix up that my 8.5 years of volunteering and my other years as alderman sometimes. So I've been in so many meetings in both
So,
situations. But I did want to ask you, which is that?
Our fund balance in general, but probably they're talking about Fund 15.
Okay,
At the
so
time,
it's
they
in
didn't always
15.
know Fund
Okay,
16
that's
Right.
what I worry about. So.
Yeah, it has to be Fund 16 that they're talking about.
so Kristen, this policy that the city has, or whatever they call it, that's the 20 city departments.
That's yeah. Every department budget is supposed to have that fund balance, and then they're supposed to keep that fund balance,
Above
around that amount. But this is keep it at 100. She considered it just that. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Jennifer?
100,000 would be our, the lowest we can go. If we went
Right.
below 100,000, then we'd have to have a plan with the city to bring it back up to 100,000.
Where is that in our budget?
And she's sort of fund balance percentage that they hold everyone else to.
Right.
So everybody else is at 20% and we're at 100,000 flat.
Okay. So the finance committee through the finance director usually recommends what that policy should be. And what they don't want is all of these funds sitting in there and then not using the funds, so they're just accumulating with this really high fund balance and then asking for more money. So they try to keep it at a certain amount.
Yeah, it's hard to make sense of this then. That 20% presumably is a prudent balance is the minimum. And but this, we may have a separate board, but this is a city department. If that's the number that we should be.
Well,
That is.
I guess it's hard to hear exactly what he's saying, but it was kind of my understanding that balance was kind of, and Peggy wasn't there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So now it sounds like in addition to whatever else we have, they're just combining this together. I don't know. I think it's really important that we pull out that and reread that because.
Well, and does the policy that list all the city departments that are we listed? And then the other thing is, does the 100,000, is that just Fund 15? And if it is, now that we have Fund 16, it's time for a new agreement. Since we have two funds, we shouldn't be operating when it was just Fund 15 and now we have Fund 16 and, we need to revisit that then.
Are those two policies, I don't remember seeing them in our library book. Are they in there?
No, but I have seen them in my files, so I can.
Okay.
I can
Well,
dig
maybe
it.
it was the 20. It kind of jumps between 35 to 20. Now we're at 20%. Is what I'm hearing. Because I know it kind of gets fluctuate up and down. Sometimes. It's usually 25.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need to pull those and discuss it. I mean, look, in my mind, it's important to know not only the fund balances, but what they discuss it. I mean, look, in my mind, it's important to know not only the fund balances, but what they expect us to use the fund balance for, right? Because if they're telling us we can get down to 100,000 and spend it on salaries or whatever it might be, and they're going to pay for, a new parking lot or a new whatever, then I'm less worried about it. But if they're our fund balance is going to be whatever, then I'm less worried about it. But if they're our fund balance that they're going to hold us to and they're not going to fund, provide additional funding is 100,000, but they're expecting us to pay for a full air conditioning unit. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to know what exactly this agreement is. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. I've been on the board for years.
Well, we have talked about it in the past.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it in the past too, and I thought we even looked at it at one
But I can
point.
put it on the agenda next.
And pull
Next
up
month.
both policies if possible. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but the other one is a city. This was specific to the library. So I'll pull that one out.
And if it is 100,000, evolved 10, 15 years ago, kind of.
Right. Okay,
Absolutely.
moving right along. We're getting a new server installed, which is good because our old one was making me nervous. We added Discovery World and Betty Bryn museum passes. So we now have 11 passes to 5 attractions. The dome's temporarily closed. Canopy is doing pretty. Canopy is doing pretty well. I can go on and see the dashboard, and I can see all the activity, and I can see a lot of people are going in. There's some great courses that have been checked out or downloaded. I say checked out because I've been working in libraries for too long. So that's good. Our study room tables are here. They're in the room. If you want to get a chance, you can go take a look. Maria looked at them before we came in here, and
They're pretty cool.
they are pretty cool.
Great courses, I'm sure type series has been around for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. You know, we have them on DVD too, but these are you're able to stream them. Just for the month of January, the Children's Librarians asked to take a short break because with the numbers like in the story times, and they're like not keeping their masks on. So we halted for a little bit, but I think we'll be starting up in February again, as long as the numbers come back down, start trending down. Teen and adult programming still in person. Carrie and I are going to be taking a trip to Glencoe to look at the materials locker, so I'll take some pictures to show you.
Okay.
In our winter reading program, I talked about Read a Latte. Great Decisions is coming up way too fast. An author who used to live in Franklin, Kevin Klusner, and he's going to be doing an author FAQ and book signing on the 3rd of March. And the February newsletter is not done.
Hey, Jennifer, what about Marjorie Pagel? Hey, Jennifer, what about Marjorie Pagel? She's written poetry, and she's a Franklin resident.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Had her for one of those?
Well, she's never really approached me about it, but I can certainly ask her because I see her in the library often.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
That new server, is that going into that same room where we had issues with the air conditioning in there?
Oh, but that was fixed.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and that's all. Yeah, because I'm conditioning in there.
Oh, but that was fixed.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and that's all. Yeah, because I know that. Okay.
We got the new ductless.
Yep. Gotcha.
COVID find meeting space in here. And normally there'd be a meeting on the other side of this, but they've gone virtual. It's the
For this
Night
month,
Readers Book Club.
For a while.
But I can, maybe what I can do, I don't want to add another column on here, but maybe I could have like a total number of meeting room.
Andy have a calendar with the actual.
We have
types
Excel
of program.
spreadsheets.
I mean, it maybe once a quarter, maybe attached to your action plan, just an example of what types of groups are in these rooms on a monthly basis, you know, or for the month.
We had a pretty good month overall. One thing to note is that our e-circulation has dropped a little bit, and I think it's just because we're open and people come in and get the physical books, and and people can come in and get the physical books. And your sessions are up. Wi-Fi visitors are staying pretty much the same. We had a really good month for my e-newsletter. Good month for my e-newsletter. Consistently, it's in the open range of like 25 to 33%, which is a pretty good number. And meeting rooms were still good, even though we had holidays where we weren't open. So 109 is pretty good for December. And does anybody have any questions? Oh, the e-news clicks I noticed was really high. I thought that was pretty good. And then I just attached, just for your records, the master calendar that we updated in November.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right. Thank you. Any report from the foundation?
We met in January. They gave us a budget for the year of $11,000. They funded, right off the bat, they've given us money to buy a portable sink for the Create Space sink.
So you're both talking.
A portable sink.
Portable sink.
Yep. Think Summerfest where you can pump and wash your hands. They gave us materials money for the children's to bulk up some of their nonfiction collection. $1 from a patron for literacy. So, and they funded one of the Betty Bren passes. So the library funded one and they funded one. So we have two.
How often do you have to pay for the passes? Just
Once a year. So I'll be starting my fundraising for the
That's a nice thing that you guys have.
and we'll be meeting in May, and the librarians are supposed to be giving me their ideas for spending the rest of the money that the foundation has given us this year, and then I will take that to the foundation.
Right. Terry, you had a colon meeting in January or December?
Yes.
January, okay.
Intellectual freedom in libraries, and but the hot button kind of issue is there's a situation that like to send their kids to the library. Experience I had when I was a kid, probably a lot of you did, go to the library and so on and so forth, explore. But also be concerned about, well, on the other hand, this is adult material in the sense that the drive-in where it talks about adult books is talking about adult books. And, some parents may say, whatever they get, if it's a challenge for them, that's fine. And other parents say, well, there's some things at this age, and the problem, of course, is that the librarians aren't in a position to make these calls. So, at least there are people who try to get the chicken and egg in order here, but if people get the feeling from library staff, for example, or their picture of libraries as a profession, that they really don't care about these parents' concerns, or one hand, and then on the other hand, you have then people don't have confidence in their librarians. And instead of coming and discussing the problem with the librarians, or library directors and so forth, they go to where they're elected officials. And then suddenly you have stuff in the air. There's some stuff in the air. There's some pretty draconian stuff that if the wrong stuff gets found on the library shelf, the librarian is going to be fined, like a year's pay, like that.
Wow.
This is just like somebody puts in a bill. That doesn't mean it's going to be a bill. That doesn't mean it's going to be a law. But somebody did put in a bill like this in the legislature, things like that. So I think I don't know if the numbers indicate that it's a widespread problem. It's one of those things where the statistics indicate hundreds of cases. But a lot of patrol are reported. It's like one of those things that if it was handled properly, person to person, it wouldn't be around. But that's not how probably working against it. A feeling on both sides of this that under siege, and so it's a problem. And so, of course, what we've heard of particularly was the Poland. So it's like, well, from the perspective of libraries and librarians, so something a little out of the ordinary and interesting. Something a little out of the ordinary and interesting. And, there's ongoing things about what to do about it and so forth. A kumbaya moment that will solve the problem later. Something a little more exciting
Right.
than the usual problem.
And committee
in
reports.
libraries, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Jennifer, do you get a lot of that, what he was talking about?
I've
That
heard
your
about them
staff-
at other libraries, but
Okay.
we have not,
At least none that have
none that have
approached.
filtered up to me.
Okay.
The children's librarians, maybe there are comments that are made.
Sure.
So is the idea that the parents expect the librarians to be telling them what their kids can't read, or?
Materials on the shelf or have them maybe in a different location. I'm not sure.
That, they didn't get into the specifics there. There may actually be parents who say if it's, if it's out in the open and it's not suitable for children, that's wrong. And of course, that's some.
Advise your children if you have that concern.
Well, that's
the
other.
But that's where the frustration with the parents are, because they can't always be at the library with their kids.
Or when the kids bring that stuff home, they're not looking at it.
Right.
And I do remember that.
I was really good at hiding stuff. We're being recorded.
That's also the thing at first that, when you're growing up, so you're at the stage now where we can library and explore on your own. But on the other hand, and yes, a library can't, there's a limit to what they can do.
Right.
And I think yes, a library can't, there's a limit to what they can do.
Right.
And I think what the problem is, I withdraw that statement. But if they get the impression that the librarian's response is like, hey, it's not my job, or it's not my job to raise your kid, or it's not my job to raise your kid.
Right.
That probably is, there may be some of that which is close to the realistic thing. That's, if we're going to run a library, we can't, there's limits to what we can do about your concern, but, we sympathize that, but we do want you to come here with your kids, and when your kids get older, come here with your kids, and when your kids get older, come part of it is just, well, how is it dealt with by the librarians and probably.
To do, and then what's the criteria?
Well,
Right, how do you
and
decide that? Like everybody's, they're different.
Right.
And is that going to make kids want to look at those books that have the?
Well, right.
That's what I was
Yeah, I
thinking.
mean, I don't know. Look, I have a daughter who's got a very high reading level, and it was always very difficult to find appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Yeah,
things for
it
her.
is. Yeah,
Yes.
same
And
here.
The solution we came up with is we would read a book before she would read it to figure out, how much sexual content was in it. But it's hard to say to a librarian, you need to decide what's appropriate for my kid because everybody's got different standards for what's appropriate and not appropriate.
Isn't it that website's called?
Standards for what's appropriate and not appropriate.
Isn't it that website's called Common Sense Media?
Mhm.
And you can
Yep,
put
you
that
can put
book
up
in there.
any DVD, movie, book. Yeah, and it'll
Gives
it'll
you that
tell you.
information.
Well, and
Yep.
look, today, my girls can walk into the library, get a book off the shelf, use self-checkout. The librarians are not involved at all.
Exactly.
But if, as a
So-
parent, you could go on their checkout and see what they took out too. So
Right,
if you're that
exactly.
concerned that your child is doing something that you don't approve.
Right.
Well, at some point, if you did a good job parenting, your children will have go to college with your kids. They have to eventually be on their own. So.
Well, after a child turns 16, we can't tell a parent anymore what they had checked out on their cards. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
yeah.
Interesting. Topic. So, yeah.
I've heard it a lot in school library. I mean, I know it happens a lot in school libraries, but hasn't really.
Well, I guess the local parentis about school kids. Kind of be their chaperone,
Right.
Yeah, but it's different because we're not acting in local parents. I mean,
Right.
we've not taken on that
Right.
role like the school district has.
Right. So
That's what it's saying.
No, it's just something that's been in the, been in the news, so
Mhm.
it's, these, well, you might only be on Poland, you might not be in your local library for it, so.
Right. Right. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Well, our next regular board meeting is February 28th. Anyone at this point know that that's not going to work? Okay. Ravian will not be here next month.
Is that the one we're going over the big policy book?
Ellen,
Oh.
I'm gonna have cold.
Okay. Again. No.
Call in.
Yeah. Did we decide? I keep looking at you. Did we decide if we're doing the bylaws next, or did we not decide? You didn't have an order you wanted to go. Okay.
But I can send.
I don't know, Alan. You'll have to wait and see.
I'll send the bylaws out. They're on the website, but I'll send the PDF out.
Yeah, just in case somebody doesn't have. Excellent. It is 7:14. Mike and Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everybody.